This is Ford Motor Company. In March 2023, they released an ad to promote the Ford Explorer, and more importantly, Women's History Month.
For the first time ever, we've completely reimagined the automobile. Introducing the men's only Ford Explorer with no windshield wipers.
No. This Explorer clearly has windshield wipers.
No heater. No turn signals.
But at the beginning, you see that the Explorer has turn signals.
Wait, no rear view mirror?
Literally a rear view mirror.
No GPS? Are you kidding? It's missing all the parts created by women. Wow. Whose great idea was that?
Clearly, it was a woman's idea.
This Women's History Month, Ford salutes the visionary automotive work by women past, present, and future.
And apparently, women have contributed so much to automotive work that they repeatedly used the same photos again and again. Hell, this woman is featured 3 times. Okay, time to unpack all this nonsense, starting with Bryan Cranston's narration.
We've completely reimagined the automobile.
So by removing the heater, GPS, turn signals, rear view mirror, and windshield wipers, Ford has somehow reimagined the automobile. Makes sense to me, what's your problem? And apparently, women didn't have anything to do with the combustion engine, tires, wheels, windshields, glass, LED headlamps, hydraulics, automatic transmission, anti-lock brakes, side view mirrors. And as it turns out, Ford didn't remove the 360-degree camera with split view display, so I think drivers can do without a rear view mirror. And who invented the rear view mirror, by the way? Well, couldn't tell you, because apparently Bryan Cranston doesn't care about celebrating the accomplishments of individuals. She was a woman, that's all that matters. But thanks, Bryan, your check is in the mail. Anyway, don't worry, men, because as it turns out, Ford put up a companion website for the Men's Only Edition and wrote the following. Explorer Men's Only Edition. Yes, you read that right. This Women's History Month, we salute the contributions women have made to the automotive industry by literally taking those contributions out. No heat, no brake lights, no GPS, and no way we'd be here today or where we're going tomorrow without them. Right. So let's explore Ford Motor Company's claims that all of these things were created by women, and we'll start with the rearview mirror. Although she was a successful auto engineer and businesswoman by day, Dorothy had her sights on something more fast-paced. So the reality is that Dorothy Levitt was a secretary at an English automobile company called D. Napier & Son, and eventually she became the personal assistant to Selwyn Edge, who was a famous racing driver. Dorothy Levitt did not design or develop automobiles, and therefore she was not an auto engineer. But she did race automobiles. One day, when she was flying down the track, a light bulb went off. She held up a small hand mirror and was able to see the guys as she left them in the dust. And that's when the rearview mirror and her racing career took off. So that story is what you would call romanticized. Levitt, who was an accomplished driver, wrote a book called The Woman and the Car, a chatty little handbook for all women who motor or want to motor. In the book, Levitt writes, "Sometimes you will wonder if you heard a car behind you. And while the necessity or inclination to look round is rare, you can, with the mirror, see in a flash what is in the rear without losing your forward way and without releasing your right-hand grip of the steering wheel. The mirror should be fairly large to be really useful, and it is better to have one with a handle to it." So Dorothy Levitt is saying that using a mirror to see behind you is helpful. However, in no way is this evidence that she invented the rear view mirror. She's simply writing about using a handheld mirror. And to erase any doubt, ads for dash mirrors appeared in magazines as early as 1908, while Dorothy Levitt wrote about holding a handheld mirror while driving in 1909. And don't you think that if she was an auto engineer like Ford claims, that she would have, oh, I don't know, engineered a mirror that could attach to the actual car? Come on, get serious. Next is the claim that a woman created brake signals and turn signals. In 1914, it was Florence Lawrence's turn. Turn signal, that is. Oh, good grief. Back then, roads were dangerous, especially when people drove too closely to one another. So this stage performer and film actress turned inventor created turn signal traffic flags. These signal flags helped cars behind her know where she was going and when to stop. But of course, she didn't stop there. Oh, of course she didn't. Florence then invented brake signals for the rear bumper too, putting this boss lady firmly in the driver's seat. Okay, so Florence Lawrence did not invent or create the first turn signal. That credit goes to Percy Douglas Hamilton, who received a patent for a device for indicating the intended movements of vehicles in 1909. So despite the undisputed fact that a man was granted a patent for a turn signal / brake signal 5 years prior to 1914, the Ford Motor Company is going to falsely claim that Florence Lawrence invented it. Now, where are they getting this nonsense? Well, in an interview in Green Book magazine, Florence Lawrence told a reporter, "I have invented an auto signaling arm, which, when placed on the back of the fender, can be raised or lowered by electrical push buttons, thus indicating the intention of the driver. The one indicating stop works automatically whenever the foot brake is pressed." And outside of telling a reporter about it, there is no proof that Florence Lawrence's invention ever existed. There are no photos, no diagrams, no patent, nothing. And it should be pointed out that Ford Motor Company's description says Lawrence's invention was turn signal traffic flags, despite Lawrence's own description saying it was an auto signaling arm. Furthermore, 1914 couldn't be the year that she supposedly invented the turn signal, because her interview with Green Book magazine was published in January 1914, which means that if she did make this invention, that it happened in 1913 or earlier. But great job, Ford. You're doing woman's work. Next up is the claim that a woman invented the car heater. While the commercial itself made the claim that a woman created the car heater,
No heater.
Ford's website makes no effort to celebrate the woman who supposedly invented it. Sad, really. So, I guess it's up to me then. If you do a Google search for car heater inventor, the top results will be Margaret A. Wilcox. Born in Chicago, USA in 1838, can be credited with the invention of an in-car heating system, patenting her idea on November 28, 1893, around the same time that the initial pioneering automobiles were taking to the rough roads of the United States. And as usual, Google search results are less than accurate. For starters, the first automobile in the United States wasn't sold until 1898. Then you have to consider that early automobiles did not have windshields, so I'm not sure how you can heat an interior that doesn't exist. Then there's the issue of Margaret Wilcox's photo. Wilcox was born in 1838, yet they're using a picture of a woman that was clearly taken in the 1950s. In other words, that is not Margaret Wilcox. But none of that matters, because right now we're going to look at the actual patent for Mary A. Wilcox's car heater. The design is not for an automobile, it's a heater for a railroad car, i.e. a car heater. Idiots. Next is the claim that a woman invented windshield wipers. And like the car heater, the video proclaimed that a woman created windshield wipers, but didn't bother to write a bio to celebrate the woman who supposedly invented it. That woman would be Mary Anderson, who was granted a patent in 1903 for her window cleaning device design. However, Mary Anderson didn't create the first window wiper, because according to a patent search, that honor goes to George J. Capewell of Hartford, Connecticut, for his window cleaner design that included wipers using flexible India rubber strips. So again, Mary Anderson did not create the windshield wiper. However, she did reportedly improve on it. According to the National Inventors Hall of Fame, Anderson's invention proved to be the first windshield clearing device to be effective. And all of that is pretty neat, but again, Ford Motor Company didn't even feature Mary Anderson on their website. But that's okay, because it's not Mary Anderson Month. It's Women's History Month. And the most important thing here is not that Mary was an inventor, it was that the inventor was a woman. Next is to claim that a woman invented Wi-Fi and GPS. During World War II, screen starlet Hedy Lamarr wanted to help the Allies, so she invented a secret communication system. So the story goes that Hedy Lamarr had read that radio-controlled torpedoes were being proposed, so her and her composer friend George Antheil came up with an idea of a guidance system that would prevent the radio signal from being tracked or jammed by the enemy. Anyway, Lamarr and Antheil were granted a patent for their secret communication system, which utilized frequency hopping. They presented it to the United States government and described it as a player piano in a torpedo. And according to the blurb on Ford's website, the military used it a little. Except that in reality, they didn't. According to the biography Hedy's Folly by Richard Rhodes, the Navy had no interest whatsoever in developing a new torpedo with a complicated guidance mechanism. It would be happy simply to see its old-fashioned unguided torpedoes occasionally both hit their marks and explode. So while it's admirable that Lamarr and Antheil spent their own time and money to work on a technology to help the Allies, designing a mechanism for a radio-controlled torpedo that wasn't even in use was ultimately a waste of time. But in the 1960s, they finally caught up to Hedy's invention and began using it for cell tech, Wi-Fi, and laying the groundwork for GPS. Yes. No. Again, Hedy Lamarr's invention was a mechanical device to be used in torpedoes. Now kids can stream movies on road trips thanks to her. So the invention of a radio-controlled spread-spectrum torpedo guidance system allows your kid to stream Baby Shark videos on a loop. Gee, thanks Hedy Lamarr. But of course, no matter how cool the concept, Hedy Lamarr didn't invent frequency hopping. The reality is that inventors such as Guillermo Marconi and Nikola Tesla had worked on spread-spectrum frequency hopping decades prior. And with that said, there is no evidence of any correlation between Lamarr and Antheil's work and the development of GPS and Wi-Fi. Next is to claim that a woman invented modern-day GPS, whatever the hell that is. Dr. Gladys West, known for her contributions to the mathematical modeling of the shape of the Earth, this brainiac mathematician and hidden figure worked for decades for the US military. Brainiac is generally a derogatory term, but great job, brainiacs. Being in a field entirely dominated by men did not stop Dr. West, however. Yeah, not even the patriarchy could stop Dr. West from doing math. Her data and work on the development of satellite geodesy models became the basis for the modern-day GPS we use in our cars today. Here's a woman who knew exactly where she was going. Now, while Gladys West did work on the development of computational techniques for detecting satellite positions with precision, and she should be celebrated for her work, Dr. West did not create GPS. The actual inventors, by the way, would be Roger L. Easton of the Naval Research Laboratory, Ivan A. Getting of the Aerospace Corporation, and Bradford Parkinson of the Applied Physics Laboratory. So in summary, this whole exercise was to remove all of the things from the Ford Explorer that women created, and they failed miserably. So ultimately the question is, what was the point? Behold, our latest ad campaign. Are you sure this will help us sell more cars? Cars? Anyway, that's it for now. Follow me on Twitter at Don'tWalkRun. A very special thanks to Zach for bringing the ad campaign to my attention. And as always, thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time. If there is a next time.